Cheers to Bold City. So what I'm going to do is just go over some of the changes that Osprey's made to the Nebula 34. I got an old one and I got a new one. Cheers. So here we go. We got the new Nebula 34 and the old Nebula 34. So what I'm going to do is just walk through a handful of changes that they have made, which I'm kind of on the fence about. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. The first thing they did, remove the buckle that used to be here. So the one thing, or a couple things I did like about it on the old one was I would always attach my hat this way. If you had a scarf or a jacket or anything like that, some kind of clothing, you could just run it right through this little loop and have it hang down and have it as another attachment point, and they got rid of it. Another change that they also made was these two little attachment points on the right and left. It's not on the new one anymore. I like those just to have attachment points. It's just nice to be able to attach a couple things here and there on the bag if you need to. The next thing they changed was, so the one thing you'll notice is on the old bag, when you got into the back compartment, they had two zippers. Now they've gone down to one zipper, and I'm not really sure I understand the reason behind it. The only reason I say that is if you have stuff on the other side of the bag, let's say maybe it's over here or farther down at the bottom on this side, you have to open up the whole entire thing to get to it, which I don't really like. There's just a budget thing that they're trying to cut a couple corners on money. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'll get used to it and live with it. The other thing I've also noticed is when you open up this back panel fully compared to the old one and the new one, is this bag opens up a little bit farther down, a little bit lower compared to the new one where it's a little bit higher. So I'd say, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but if you hold these up, you're looking at maybe about an inch difference on how much lower this one comes down compared to this one. So you can't open the new one as far as the old one. And they've also gotten rid of the internal pockets and the zipper pockets on the bottom on the old one, and they've taken them all out on the new one, which I don't mind this at all, because if you have stuff down there, it's almost impossible to get to it, take anything out. They did add two little pen pockets on the left side and the right side of the new one. Of course, you still have your key clip. They changed up the mesh a little bit, so it's not as cheese graty as this, and it's a little bit tighter on the stretching. It's not as loose as what this was before, so if you have something a little bit bigger in this, it'll stay in a little bit better compared to this one. It was so loose that if you put anything in here, it would just kind of jostle around, maybe even fall out. They've also done a small change on the compression straps into the bag itself, in this little garage, so to speak, with the female side of it. It's a little tricky to kind of get to. You got to mess with it a little bit. And you can see I'm kind of already struggling with it, but it's there. No, it was kind of crooked, so that way it was kind of hard to get out, but you can see it there. So they just tried to make it nice and clean. Again, I don't really mind all that stuff, but I get it if you don't want your stuff to get snagged on anything. As for the sunglasses compartment or extra storage pouch at the top, they didn't change anything on that. It's still the same size. It's got a heat embossed kind of golf ball texture to it. Like I said, they didn't change anything from the old one to the new one. The handles are a little bit different. So the old one kind of felt like it had a little bit more comfortable. The new one is almost more kind of a rope style, more robust. It's definitely a lot stronger. I definitely do like the new one compared to the old one, because I had an older Nebula where the handle broke, which is actually how I got this bag, the new ones, because I sent in my old one to get fixed and they couldn't fix it because of the handle, and they replaced it. So yeah, they did a great job on this, reinforcing it. I definitely won't have the issues of it breaking in anytime in the near future. Now on the inside, if you notice, they did make another change where they added a kind of like a kangaroo pouch, so to speak. It's pretty big. I'd say maybe it's 5 inches deep to maybe 7, 8 inches wide. I got my goggles in there and my little swimming MP3 player. It's good size. You can fit a good amount of stuff in there. Again, the old one didn't have that. You don't have access from the sunglass pouch into this pouch. So they're completely separate from each other. You can't get in from one to the other. So keep that in mind in case you maybe thought that you could get from one to the other. Another small change that they've made on the inside is they used to have a little tab here that they have now removed, and this wasn't really enforced with anything. It was a little bit more flappy, for lack of a better word. Now it's got this little piece of plastic that reinforces the fabric, and it doesn't flap around as much, and it doesn't bend out as much either. I feel like I got two kids right here right now. These things are gigantic when they're opened up flat. Another change they made is they've added a zipper here at the bottom. So now you have access to get to the actual support foam pad that they put in here. And if you want to take it out, you have the capabilities of doing that. So compared to my old bag, the flexibility on the pad is definitely, I mean, you can tell it's kind of sagging a little bit. And then with the new one, you can see that it definitely snaps back. And I don't know if it's just because this one's old and this one's new, or it's just the actual pad itself that's better than the old one. But it's definitely got some more support to it. They cut down on the color, so obviously you lost the brown up here. They removed the logo. Now you just have nothing, so it's cleaner. Nothing's changed with the size of the laptop sleeve, same exact size. Still has a little bit of mesh on the side here to help it kind of flex out a little bit. Nothing has changed on the tablet sleeve. They're still both exactly the same size, and this is I don't even know what size this iPad is. 8-9 inches across, and it fits in there great, and I probably have another 2-3 inches left over on the width to get it in there. And the height, it caps out right there, so I got about maybe another inch. And another thing I want to point out is this opens all the way up completely flat. So if you need to get into your bag for whatever reason, get to your laptop, to your tablet, completely flat, easy to get to, easy to close. It's a giant book is what it is. Need a break real quick. Man, that's good beer. Another thing I'm going to point out, I'm not 100% sure, but so I think the side pockets on the old one are a little bit lower. And the other thing I've also noticed is over time, these things start to get a little bit loose. And I think, and this one's, I can just feel it, it's a little bit snugger. Obviously this one's new, so the elasticity on it hasn't kind of started to loosen up. But I think, it's kind of hard to tell, but I only have one of these, but I think the side pocket comes up a little bit higher compared to the old one. And you can cinch down the whatever you have in there with the compression strap to keep it from popping out. You can even, if you're worried about it popping out, you can even take the compression strap up here, you know, run it through there and then run it up to here. You know, if you're really worried about that thing popping out, just tighten the compression strap down here and then run it through up there, and it'll hold it in place. Small changes to the back. The old one, you can tell, had 3 individual panels of padding. They've now cut that down to just 2 pads. One here, and there's a little bit of a vent in the middle. And this padding is not very thick. I mean, if you put your hand in the middle of this channel, you might be a quarter of an inch in thickness on this pad. So it's not like it sticks out a lot, and you know it's really going to lift your back off the backpack and funnel this air. I mean, it will a pinch, but you start putting stuff in here, it starts getting heavy. It's not really going to do a whole bunch, but it's definitely more rigid than what the old bag was. So before, on the old one, you had 2 loopholes to put your hydration bladder tube through. Now they've cut that down to just 1, and you can use them as attachment points. The straps are still the same thickness. Nothing changed on that. You have a whistle that's built into the sternum strap, which is adjustable, and the same thing with the old one. Had a whistle, sternum strap adjustable. They didn't change anything on the bottom. So what I mean by that is you had your hip belt, which that's not your hip belt. You had a hip. That's not the hip belt either. It's around here somewhere. So you had the hip belt, and one thing I heard people complain about is it wasn't very thick. You couldn't either remove it or you couldn't hide it, behind the bottom part of the bag. With the new one, you still can't do that. You can't remove it. You can't hide it and stash it like you can the buckles that were in the front, which isn't a big deal to me. I don't really care about hiding buckles and straps and stuff like that. Those are really the only changes that they've made. Oh, yeah, well, forgot about this one. So if you notice, so the bike light holder is now just a piece of fabric. And what they did on the, on the old one, you had more fabric, which I feel like is a little bit stronger, and I'm not gonna have to worry about that ripping over time. So it could possibly rip over time. I don't know. We'll have to see how that pans out. And they also, you could use this for hydration if you really wanted to. The only thing is, if you were to use this to hold your hydration, there's nothing to keep your bladder from sagging down. The tube sleeve to run the hydration tube through. And another thing people have overlooked is the back pocket now is actually an inch narrower than the old one. I went back and measured them. I could kind of tell when I was looking at them, but this one's actually 10 inches wide and this one's actually 9, so you're losing an inch. And that could explain why the zipper's a little bit higher up here compared to the old one. So that's pretty much it as what they've changed. The colors have changed on the new one, where I think they may only have 3 or 4 colors, maybe 5. And the color hits are very subtle. The bags start to look a little bit more like all the other backpacks that are out there, which I get it. The cool thing was about this is I knew exactly what my bag looked like. Brown isn't the most popular bag out there, especially with kind of neon green accent marks, so it was really easy to find if I'm in, I don't know, if I put my bag down somewhere or something like that. And it was easier to see. Now with the new one, like I said, it blends in a little bit more. You could maybe mistake it for somebody else's. I'm okay with that. Other than that, I love these bags. Their customer service was exceptional when I had to get my old bag replaced. You just mail it in, they look it over. It took about a month from start to finish for them to look at the bag, make their initial impressions on what they could do or what they couldn't do, and then when it came down to it, they sent me a new one with their lifetime guarantee. If you purchased it 90 years ago or if you purchased it 3 days ago, if there is a defect in it, they will send you a new bag, and that's exactly how I got this one. It holds a lot of stuff. I take it to the gym with me all the time. I take it to work with me all the time. I can fit a 17-inch laptop in there. Though actually the one I have in there now is 15, but I can fit a 17-inch laptop in there. It's a great bag. I travel with it everywhere I go. It's a multi-purpose bag, having the extra space, and it works perfect. I don't think I'll ever go to another backpack company unless Osprey goes out of business, which I pray to God they don't. But yeah, great customer service, great product. Just keep doing what you're doing. Cheers.